are you guys doing in there? Silly you. Let's get on out of here and take a look what's in here. Hello, my Florida Garden Escape channel. I'm happy to have you guys here. Welcome back. If you're new here, we're happy to have you as well. Go ahead and hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and that bell so that way you don't miss out on any of our new videos. Today, guys, we're going over the seedlings that we got going on in our grow tent. Now, we have changed some things up with our soil, with our seedlings. We'll kind of go over that and dive deep into kind of what it all is, and give you a good idea of how we are starting to come up with our own soil now instead of buying Miracle Grow like we were before. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm super stoked. Let's go. So all that we have in here is all grown from our own seed. Now the soil that we do make, it is in a Miracle Grow bag. Yes, I do know. But the soil that we have here, it's different things. There's going to be 3 different components. Well, technically 4 different components that we are using for our own soil. So we do a 1 part of compost and manure. It's a mixture. And then we also do a 1 ratio of peat moss along with a ratio of perlite to help with that moisture. Now we keep these ratios in combined, so when we go to do a big bag, we normally have 3 ratios of compost and manure and 3 ratios of peat moss and then 3 ratios of perlite. So that way there's drainage in the soil, it's good and spaced out. And with our compost and that, we make sure to keep all those big sticks, big pieces of bark, things like that out, because that gives the soil more room to air to come through. And you really want your seeds to be in a soil. I did come across a lot of that in the Miracle Grow. I'm not hating on Miracle Grow. It's still a great choice of mine. But with my seedlings, I did notice that I was getting a lot of big sticks, and I didn't really want those in there. But that is how we are starting to do our own soil now. Our compost, it does sit for 30 days before we do use it. It holds kitchen scraps, cardboard paper, mulch, grass clippings, you name it, we throw it in there. The only thing we do not throw in there is dairy products and raw meats. Or any cooked meats. We do keep that out of our compost. With our eggs and that, the eggs are cooked, and then the shells are thrown in an air fryer for about 5 minutes at 350 to get any chances of salmonella out of the egg. But now we're going to go ahead and get out of our soil and we're going to take a look at what we're going to be transplanting today and what we're looking at growing and getting out to the new garden area. So let's go ahead and check out in here. Alright, so our temperature is growing at 83 degrees. If you guys remember, we did fry our humidifier, so we no longer have a humidifier in here, but we are still getting things to germinate. So when I say this, I say this deeply. You don't need a humidifier to germinate your seeds. Yes, you have a higher chance of germination because of the humidity level. Like currently we are at 40% and it's 83 degrees in here, so it's nice and warm. It matches the outside weather. We have 2 fans blowing through here, so that way there is air circulation and it helps the stems grow big and strong. Now there's going to be a few different sections in here we're going to go through. We got a lot to fill up still. Today we are going to be putting in some melon Crenshaw from Burpees and 4 o'clock mixed color flowers from Burpees as well. And these are annuals, and these are so beautiful, so I'm really excited to be growing these. Now as years go by, well, not years, over time, I do collect our seeds. So over time, we won't need to buy our seeds. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to be at a place to where we have our own seeds. We won't need to buy seeds because we're saving our seeds, from seeds of marigold to cucumbers to bell peppers. Everything we're eating that has a seed, you best bet I'm collecting it to harvest it. I walked around, literally, no lie guys, I walked around for probably like almost a whole month with these things in my purse. Don't know why. Don't know why I didn't take them out, but I took them out today to plant these suckers. So you're no longer growing in my purse, you're going to grow in our garden. Let's get to it. Alright, so we are going to start on our left side here, or your right side, whatever way you're facing. Over here, I know you guys are going to see everything. This is all raw. This isn't nothing edited, cut out. You guys see the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. So through failure, there is always success. But thankfully, 2 of our Velvet Queen sunflowers are doing beautifully, and they are ready to go outside and start getting hardied up for the weather. Unfortunately, one of the guys did not like the transplant, and he is slowly dying there. He's not really too happy with what I did. I don't know why. This guy's seed did not eventually take off, and when your seeds get stuck, sometimes they need a little help, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they need the little help, because if you don't help them, they get this little charade here at the end. But you can really tell when they are needing that assistance. Here is going to be some of our bell peppers that are growing here, and they are doing very marvelously. I'm not sure exactly what this is growing in it, but we'll kind of see as it grows there. Alright, so moving on from this section here, we're going to kind of start our way back and kind of move our way up. Now, before I get into this section here, so I've done a lot of research with rosemary, and this is the first section we're going to be getting into. The rosemary it's really hard to grow from the seed. So I planted the seeds in and watered them too much, didn't realize that rosemary is like a cactus. It likes a lot of dry soil, not a whole lot of wet soil. Then I went through the process of putting it in a damp paper towel in my refrigerator for 2 weeks to hardy them up, and then plant them in the ground. Well, I've planted them in the ground, still nothing has happened. I don't water them as much because they don't require a lot of water, and still nothing. So I'm still learning on the rosemary. I don't know when I'll ever get it down. Dry herbs is like almost a struggle for me because it took me forever to get thyme going. So basil, I got basil. Mint, got it down. Bet your bottom butt I did. But rosemary and things like that, I'm gonna get it. We're going to grow rosemary from seed one of these days, I promise you. I am determined. You have the will, I have the way. Well, I have the will. You get what I'm saying. Anyways, let's continue. But that is why rosemary sits empty. Bonk. So moving on is our blue enchantment. When I first got in here, I was fiddling around and I accidentally broke one of my blue enchantments. It happens when they're first coming out because they are very fragile. A lot of these guys are getting ready to be transplanted out. Then up here is more of our dino kale. These 4 sections here is going to be our dino kale. They are looking just marvelously, and that is the blue enchantment there. Now moving on this next section here after the dino kale, right here is going to be our parsley. For a good while I got a confusion between the parsley and the cilantro, because as you can probably kind of see that the cilantro does look a lot like the parsley, but the parsley is starting to look a lot different than the cilantro. So I'm really happy that they do have that difference there. One thing you can tell is that they do have a darker stem compared to the cilantro. They definitely have much more greener stems. And that's going to be your really difference there, along with the different leaves, because they do have the 2 leaves, but cilantro's leaves are definitely bigger than the parsley leaves. Now I do come through here about 3 times a day to check the soil's water. I'll put my finger in it, kind of feel it. I'll feel the bottom of the tray as well, because if you look inside these trays have these little holes. So I'm able to push my finger through those holes and kind of feel how that soil's doing. Now next to this one is going to be our pansies. These are going to be a mixed color pansies, and they're starting to germinate. So they're not very tall yet. This right here, this is going to be one of those plants that I really struggled with. Is the flower time. This is actually my first one ever to have germinated, so I'm really excited and happy about it. I'm like, yes, we got a flower time. It only took me 3 months to do it, but I got it. That kind of thing. Moving up here is our Shasta daisies. They did not germinate. They are more of a cooler kind of weather, so I don't think our temperatures in that are right in here for the Shasta daisies. So once I get a lot of this out, I'll probably try again with cooler temperatures and then move them to more of a shady area. But that I'm still kind of learning as well. Back here is some of our solar sunflowers. They did not germinate as they were harvested from our solar sunflower. So I really have to go through those solar sunflower seeds and see which ones are really going to be good in that. Now as we come through here, these are going to be our big marigolds. I believe these are going to be the white ones on this side. Now moving down here, this is going to be our green sprout broccoli, and it's doing pretty freaking well if you ask freaking me. And we even have one coming up the ground there. You guys see it there? But it is doing wonderfully. Now over here is our large marigold yellow. We did transplant some more. We were able to get one. That's where that empty spot is. So far nothing yet. These were seeds that my old man brought to me from a friend of his or something like that's house. And then over here is our dark green zucchini. It is grown big. These guys are definitely ready to be transplanted. Now one thing with your seedlings, if you lift up your tray, you'll start to see roots at the bottom. And when you see those roots, you know that your seedlings are transplanted. Now even if they're not seeing roots, normally you can transplant your seedlings as soon as they show at least two leaves here. I haven't been able to transplant these guys. That's why they're a little big. They don't look too happy. Once we transplant them, they'll be much happier and they'll have much more room to grow. I just haven't been able to transplant because all my pots were taken up, but we thankfully transplanted out in the big garden, and the big garden is so much fuller. So here within the next couple of days, you will be getting a new full updated tour of the big garden area, and I can't wait to show you guys that area out there. But moving on, we do have here now, we are growing everything from tomatoes to herbs to fruits, you name it, we're trying to grow it. Here we have our eggplant. I forget which variety eggplant this is. If I'm not mistaken, it's a dark purple eggplant. But this is going to be our eggplant. We definitely got to get these guys transferred out. This next row beside it is our oregano. I only got two to perform out here in Germany. Oregano and this spearmint are the two hard ones that I've really struggled with. It's also the same thing with the rosemary. With the herbs, I really need to do some more research to see exactly what I'm doing wrong here, because I don't know if it's me or if it's maybe just the climate of my grow tent. I'm not exactly sure, but I have a feeling I'm gonna get it eventually. Now here next to this lot where you do see it's a lot more damper, these are going to be my Canaan lilies. We had these in water for about a week, I want to say a week and a half, and they started to show a little stem. I'll go ahead and show you guys a picture of what they look like now. And then once they started getting that, I just put them in soil, and now we're just gonna watch them grow. Now here is our very last slot, is gonna be our hot pepper habaneros. They are looking really good. I was really worried that I wasn't gonna get any to germinate, but we were actually able to. I was actually able to get them to germinate, which I'm super stoked about. But now we're gonna go ahead and go through here, and we're gonna transplant these seedlings out and get these guys into a much bigger area. Alright guys, so first things that I'm actually going to do first is I'm actually going to go ahead and get this cilantro transplanted. It's been in here long enough. They're definitely showing signs that they're ready to get out of these little pods. So I'm going to actually go ahead and do these first. Now when I'm transplanting my seedlings, I look at how many are in each slot, so that way I can know exactly how many solo cups or pots I need to put together. Now with herbs, I know some you can actually put a lot closer together, like your basil. I have 2 basils growing in one big old tub. With a lot of our herbs, I am keeping them in big containers. I don't want them to be in the big garden because they are our herbs that I will probably more than likely use probably on a daily. So first things first, we got cilantro. It looks like there's probably about 3 to 4 in each section. So I'll probably kind of put 2 together in each cup to kind of make it a sweeter deal there for some people, because not all we don't keep all these plants that we grow. We actually do give it out to friends, family. We give them as gifts. I even sell them to our community through our Florida Garden Escape. We are currently holding a flash sale for our tomato plants, which is super exciting. We have so many that we really don't even know what to do with. We've given some to friends and family, and we still have too many. I over germinated seeds and got overexcited, so we have a little bit too much. But this is the pictures of the tomato plants while I fill these cups up. Alright, so now that we got the cups filled up, as you can see, I didn't fill some of them up. You never really want to fill your pot or your solo cup or whatever you're using up to the brim. You always want to leave this space between the rim and the soil, so that way the water is not overflowing out of that soil, because you're wanting that water to stay in that soil to get all that soil good and wet. So we're going to go ahead and move these guys out, and I'm just going to just show you exactly how I get these guys out. Now, as you guys remember, there is that hole at the bottom, and what I do is I just stick my finger right through that hole and it pops out just like that. Alright, now that we have the pod popped out, I have a little simple handy dandy kitchen knife. I take the end of it and I actually poke it through and make a good size hole in all the cups, really, because I need it for each one. So I'll go ahead and poke the holes here, and I'm going to show you guys really quick how deep I'm making these holes. I don't want to make them super deep, but just deep enough to where the plants are good and in there and they're stable too. So I'm going to just quickly, I may have made that one too big, but this is what these holes look like. There they are, and like I said, they're not super big. You can see the bottom down there, but we're now going to separate these guys and get these guys in their cup. And I just take it and I'll squeeze the little blocks, get the soil good and loose. Now with the cilantro seeds, I noticed that 2 were coming out of 1 seed, which I've never really seen before. I never seen 2 plants come out of 1 seed ever. You normally only get that 1. So when it popped out of there, I was definitely surprised. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just shaking it loose and then placing it in the spot that it's going to be going in. Now, as I said before, I probably am going to do 2 in 1 cup. Gotta get them separated. So now here we have our seedlings, and with this, I made those holes, not realizing that I am putting 2 in 1 here. So I am actually going to put this little guy in by himself. There he goes. He'll be nice and happy there. And one thing with this is, with doing this, like with putting them in bigger pots and kind of separating them, they're not so much fighting each other for the space in the room. They'll actually be able to grow and not have to fight over that space and room because there's so much room there for them to grow. And they'll be much more happier with this as well. So when I do them, when I'm putting 2 in 1 cup, I'll kind of put 1 to one side and then the other on the other side to help them get that room to be able to grow. And then once I have them, with me putting them, and you guys are probably wondering why I'm putting them in these pots instead of moving them out to the big garden already. Well, I have you an answer. So with moving my plants from in here to outside, it might be somewhat just like how it is outside, but I always want to take the time. It's with gardening, it's not about who's going to get done first or who's going to get bigger first. It's about the patience, the time, because it's not a race to the finish line. If you treat it like a race, it won't be as much exciteful, I think, if you did it like that. But one thing is with moving them from in here to outside, I really want them to harden up and get used to the climates. That's the rain, the hard winds we'll get at times, things like that. And with them hardening up, it makes the stem stronger, the plant stronger. They're able to fight off those aphids at times. It's a lot better for the plants if you hardy them up. And I hardy them up for a good 2 weeks, and then I transplant them into something else, or they're getting put into the big garden. And like I said, we don't use everything. We do give plants to our families, our friends, and things like that, so they can have at their garden as well. Because one thing that a lot, I think, is missing in this world is healthier eating. Now these guys are so clogged together, I don't think I'm going to be able to get them apart. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually kind of separate them after the soil. So just because they don't want to come apart doesn't mean they can't be separated. So we're just going to work a little bit of magic here. And there is no difference between the two bags that I have here. They're both our own soil. I just forgot to bring a bag out with me when I needed to get our soil together for these guys. So it's all going to be the same stuff, which is good to have. It's always good to have the soil on deck. And then you just kind of push the soil down, and I'll show you what these guys will look like now that we've transplanted them in here. Because they just did not want to come apart. And like I said, these cilantro was very weird because they two popped out of one seed. So I was like, I've never seen that before. But this is what they look like. I'll go ahead and show you. That's what they're going to look like if I can't get them to part. But when I can, they're going to look nice and beautiful and plenty of space there. Alright. Now one thing I do as well, before I take them outside to be in the greenhouse or out on the shelving that's outside the greenhouse, one thing I will do is I will water them before taking them out there, so that way they're good and well watered. Because one thing with transplanting, you always want to water your plants the first 5 days of the transplant, so that way they get really established at their in their new home. Now these guys look like they are going to be actually the same way. They're going to be so claustrophobic together that I will not be able to separate them. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do them the same way I did that last one. Kind of make the hole a little bit bigger here for them because they are a lot deeper. And this is one thing, you definitely want to get them once the first two leaves pop out, so that way they're easy to separate and thin out. Now some people will take clippings from their plants and kind of clip the weakest one out. I like to preserve them and keep them in there, and then hopefully in due time I can actually get them separated in another soil. But we'll kind of play this as we go. Just add a little bit more here, and then these guys are going to be good. Now, one thing with our soil is it is very sandy, so we had to do a lot of amending with it, adding compost and things like that to it. But thankfully, our soil is definitely dark and rich now, especially in my eyes, because we have tomato plants growing phenomenally. We got cantaloupe growing beautifully. So I definitely think our soil is going beautifully. It's like gold. It's just a different kind of gold. Alright, so last cilantro here. We're going to take a look, see how these roots are looking. And as you guys can see, I am doing my labeling because my label's here. And let's see, will you guys come apart? I think we can actually get these guys to come apart. Now, one thing you can do, you can wet the soil before you transplant your seedlings, or you can wait till after they're transplanted. Sometimes I find it easier not to water them until after I get them all transplanted, because the soil's wet, dry, and it'll just kind of crumble off the plants. One issue I do run into is getting them untangled in their roots, kind of like they are here. I've done shooken this off so well you can really see them. So with this now, I'm just going to put these guys in the soil all together. Since they're not coming apart, this is not turning out to be as easy as I thought it would be, guys. But this is all, it's all going to be okay. Those roots aren't damaged. We haven't hurt anything. So it's going to be okay. We're not losing anything. And let's just get these guys situated here. I'm going to spread them all out here so that way they have their own little space. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. Just gotta work around them. There we go. And then I'll add a tad bit more soil in here. There it is. Whoop, there it is. There it goes. All nice and tidy now in their new home. Beautifully. Beautifully. Well, it's beautiful to me. Alright. So, cilantro is done. We have it transplanted. And then before I get those guys out, I'll water them. But let's take a look at how they look. Here they are. They look good. They're going to be happy. Much more happy. A lot more room to grow. That's for sure. Alright guys, so that is how we do our transplant. It's pretty much going to be the same steps over and over. I won't hold you guys up here for this whole transplanting that I got to do. So until next time, my growers, stay amazing, stay awesome, and stay growing. And until next time, deuces.